maybe feeling a bit tired, some of the ATMs we're going to do today, you know, this little bit of maybe tiredness may allow some of you to find that place to give up your achievement. Huh? Let yourself sort of immerse yourself in. Oh, but it's interesting, you know, these different places that we enter and how they allow us to perceive things in really different ways and to sense ourselves in really different ways. So we're going to start in sitting to at least keep you upright. And go back. So again, can you sit with one leg in front of the other? And how are you going in your ability to work out, are you comfortable there? Is it getting a little bit clearer maybe what you would look for to tell you you were comfortable? And again, just as we did yesterday, could you very slowly uncross your legs and recross them the other way? Hands wherever you like. Go slowly, slowly, slowly. Remember, we're all tired today. It's just this nice. And again, what you're feeling for is what happens in your pelvis. Where do you shift your weight? Just same principle as Feldenkrais was doing yesterday with Laura. How does she work out how to redistribute her weight to allow something to become lighter? And so that opens up her possibilities. So once you've got them crossed again, again, notice where your weight is on your pelvis. It won't be symmetrical with one leg in front of the other. And can you find a way now again? So we've asked this question previously. Which way would it be easier to turn to at the moment? And maybe what we've been doing with all the spiralling and which leg was in front and which leg was behind. So having whichever leg you've chosen to have in front, is there a preference to which way it would be easier to roll, easier to begin to swing yourself? If you were going to come up to standing. So remember we were talking yesterday about that whole thing of where the pelvis is and how that organises the legs, or your legs, to begin to go somewhere. And then cross them the other way. Feel where your weight is now. Has it changed because of this interlacing? And just feel, is there a preference? Maybe it's clearer on this side or it's less clear. Where would it be easier to shift your weight to begin to turn. So again, just starting to get more and more clear how these habits that we have influence the parts of space we move in, where it's easier to orient to. And what we're looking for is to find a way to open up more of those possibilities. Okay, so now, if you were going to put your left hand on your forehead and your right hand at the back of your head, which leg would you like in front? So, is it getting a little bit clearer? Maybe it's not. So maybe let's start off, leave whichever leg's in front and gently begin to roll your head between your hands. And can you remember that there were 3 ways that you could do this? Can you remember the 3 ways? And notice as you do this, where's your head oriented? It's going to be influenced by the shape you're making with your torso. Where's it oriented? Is it more looking forward, or is your face looking down? Just simply to notice. Okay, so what are the 3 ways? Can you remember? Flat and rolling, yeah. And that's what most of you sort of did first off, yeah? So that the wrist stays straight the whole time, and the elbows come a little bit closer and back, but they're not swinging. So does everyone want to do that one first? So the back hand stays straight, the front hand, sorry, not just the hand, but the whole forearm and hand. So your wrist stays straight. So you've got a continually changing point between your head and your hand. So the second way is your wrists bend as you're doing it. And feel then how your elbows start to swing more. And that you don't tend to, or most of us don't tend to change the point of contact as much. You still can change the point of contact a little bit. It's much more. And feel what happens differently. What's different in your shoulders, in your chest, maybe in your weight transfer. Does your head tend to orient in a different direction if you do it this way? And then the third one, remember what the third one was? So the third one was that the hands, put your hands and your arms on, and they all stay exactly the same, and you turn your torso left and right. So nothing changes in the organisation. Nothing changes relative in your So your elbows stay exactly the same distance apart, and you just sort of really turn yourself left and right. And can you feel what that turning is? Okay, so again, just take a moment to go through those three different ways and really, again, as you were beginning to do so well, not just beginning yesterday, you were, to do so beautifully, finding the timing, finding that way that you can really look for what's different. What parts of you become more involved? Which one asks for your shoulders to move across your chest? Which one gives you most clearly the sense that all of you is in the movement, but you're really turning your head right at the top of your spine? That there's something happening right at the top. Okay, so have a pause. So where do people think the top of their spine is? Between your ears at the back? It's really interesting. I've been doing this a lot with my clients lately, and I'm fascinated that most people pretty quickly get an idea of where the back of their spine is in their neck. The front of their spine usually ends there. They don't have an image of how far up the front. Well, it doesn't go past your eyes, no. But you know, if you wanted to take an X-ray of the top vertebra, they have to open your mouth. It's way up here. It's on the same level as your, it's a little bit higher actually than your hard palate, the roof of your mouth. So where it really sits is you've got your palate, you've got your roof of your mouth, your hard palate. You go back to your soft palate, and then the top of the vertebra is way up there. So just see, go back and roll your head between your hands and see, does it make a difference if you've got not just an image of the back of where the top of your spine is, but an image at the front of where the top of your spine is. You know, it's that old adage that he starts awareness through movement with, we act according to our self-image. Okay. So for the rest of this lesson, we're going to be interested in that first way that you did, you know, of the arms staying in line and you're just doing a roll with your hands and the elbows just, yeah. So could you find a way to do that that's really small? So really small. And we've still got your right hand on the back of your head and your left hand in front. So that you're finding a way that you feel that your head starts in the middle and then you're just going a little, nose goes a little bit to the right as the back of your head goes a little bit to the left. And then your nose, they come back to the middle and your nose goes a little bit to the left and the back of your head goes back a little to the right. So you've really got both hands in your image. You've got the front and the back of your head in your image. And once you find an easy rhythm for that, could you begin, and you might need to adapt your legs a little bit for this, could you begin to tilt yourself a little bit left and right? But every part of you is going to tilt. Huh? So you're rocking, tilting a little bit on your pelvis, so your knees have to tilt a little bit. You'll feel your feet have to tilt. You're still rolling your head left and right, and you're tilting yourself. So you've got to find a rhythm where you can keep your head going small and light. And again, remember, this segment's been very much about exploring options. Have you really got your legs somewhere that makes it easy? So maybe if you take your hands down first and simply check, is it easy to tilt a little bit left and right here? Is it easy for me to feel that all of me can tilt a little bit left and all of me can tilt a little bit right? And do you want to change your legs a little bit that might make that easier for you? Maybe it's easy, it doesn't matter, with your legs straight, or I don't mind how they are. But that every part of you is ready to tilt a little left, a little right as you roll your head. So start rolling your head again now that you've got your little tilt left and right. So some of you, it's really nice, you can see you're really deeply entering your process. Some of you are still into achievement. I've got to get it, got to get it. So soften your intention. And what does that mean to say soften your intention? What do you have to organise in yourself to soften your intention? And we've been paying attention. You can pay attention to, is my breathing easy? How do I get this ability to open my field of attention? That it's me doing this. So in a way, the challenge here for all of you, because especially as this lesson goes on and the rest for the end till the end of the day, the challenge here is to give up achievement. Yeah, good luck, says Glenn. Give up achievement. And you know, when we say this, it's not that Feldenkrais, that we don't believe in achieving things. What we're investigating is your process of how you do it. Okay, so now, again, we're going to return to something we've been doing. So you've got this little tilt, side to side. So now could you begin to change slowly, 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 change your legs? And really feel, is there something in this rolling of the head that tends to shift your weight with this little, that you've been doing with this little tilt left and right, that you can begin to sense how your weight is shifting on the ground. And you can maybe feel there's a time where do one leg at a time, slowly. That one leg, the weight, but don't lift your feet. At no stage lift your feet. So you're going to have to completely sort of lengthen, you're going to have to straighten your legs out to do this. You're going to have to lengthen your legs. No, same way. And get a sense with this hand in front and the other hand behind and the back of your head and the front of your head going in opposite directions to each other. That there's a point, if you can begin to feel how that influences the shift of weight on your pelvis. Don't do both together. Sheila, don't do both together. Yeah? But whether you want to or not, you've held your breath. Yeah? So how do you find this way? This is, again, what Laura, it's the same principle. You're finding, if I keep my foot on the floor, it's easier for me to organise. I don't have to yet organise a complete way to get one limb free. Make it easy for yourselves. How do you distribute the weight? How do you find a way? And that you can tilt a little bit, and that you can feel that maybe you tilt a little bit to the right and you go back a little bit. And when you go one way, you go forward a little bit. And there's these the tilting of your pelvis with the rolling of your head. Always looking, your pelvis is moving, your head is moving. Your pelvis is moving, your head is moving. And you're simply finding the rhythm that makes sense for you. So maybe you're going to do it in time, that your head and your pelvis, you're finding that if I let them go together, that allows me to more clearly feel how I find these points where my leg is free to move. Really try not to lift your foot from the floor. Yeah? Keep your feet on the floor. Keep your feet on the floor. Because there's something, for those of you who want to keep your legs together, is there something about the shape you want to keep your torso in all the time? Or is there something about taking the leg out, bringing the leg back? Maybe has something to do with small, tall. Huh? Maybe has something to do, again, with this ability that sometimes your pelvis and your head might come a little bit closer together, and maybe at times they move apart. So all these things we've been exploring. Remember, when we were bending forward and you found that way that a lot of you got small, and then there was a point that you had to flip. You had to change your shape to move your head and pelvis away from each other. And you're still rolling your head between your hands. And again, the slower you go, the more time you've got to spread your attention to these different things. The more time you've got at every moment to, can you just pause and go, can I still easily move in each direction? Have I got a little bit of reversibility here? So for some of you, your whole challenge could be, how slow can I go? So that you really start to feel, if you really enter that place, start to get glimpses of that place. Then you can really begin to feel it really doesn't become that important whether you change your legs over. You start to enter this very exploratory place. Have a rest. We'll be watching Feldenkrais teach an ATM later. It's so nice because then he can be, I can be the good guy, and he can be the bad guy saying, oh, I'm so sick of telling you all to do less and... when are you going to listen? And I think they're both really valuable ways of learning. You think you know what you're doing, you don't. Because I think that sort of stops you in your tracks a little bit sometimes, that ability for someone just to come in and go, say that, and you go, oh, okay, let me resort here. What am I doing? So again, when we talk about learning, it's about spreading your attention, being able to move foreground, background, involving all of yourself in the image, exploring, looking for ease, looking for pleasure. So it really doesn't matter what the movement is. That's what you're sorting for. The movement in many ways is just the vehicle for you to do that. Okay, put your right hand behind your head. Left hand in front. Begin to roll your head between your hands. And how is it to roll your head between your hands on the floor? Is it any easier than when we did it a few days ago? It's a little easier to feel your hand sliding along the floor, along the back. So that your right elbow slides a little bit. Your hand slides a little bit. And again, notice as you do this with this hand in front, could you find a place where it's just as easy to go left as right? Find the quality. Okay, so then your next instruction is without changing this quality, and this will be the achievement, people. Just notice what happens in your thinking here. And he says, could you take at least a quarter of an hour to find how, while you keep this rolling of your head, you could roll to your right to come up to sitting. So you've got to find a way that your pelvis is going to be free, your legs are ready to respond to the movement of your pelvis. I love it, you know. It's nearly sort of like the impossible task. So you've got to find your timing here. You've got to feel your way. What would I begin to roll first? How do I begin to shift my weight? When do I get smaller or taller? So obviously your right arm is going to have to organise itself somehow to slide on the floor, to get to a place where you can roll over it. But feel your way, feel your way. And again, it's simply not important if you get there, or even if you get anywhere. How do you give up the achievement? And at the same time, and this is the really interesting one, still have a clarity of direction about where you're going. That's why these lessons are so beautiful. You have to give up the achievement, but have a clarity of direction about where you're going. So that's where I want to go. How do I get there? I think I'll give this to you as your learning activity between segments. So is there a timing in your legs? Yeah? Can you feel that your feet have to move and slide? And it's beautiful. So Feldenkrais talks about learning as requiring three components. All learning. And the first one is it takes time to learn something. So learning to learn in this particular way takes time. It takes attention, the ability to use your attention, to move your attention, to spread your attention, to see the detail, to see the big picture, or the whole and the parts, to stay oriented to the ground, what's around you. And it takes continuing discrimination, the ability to make finer and finer distinctions. And that's learning. So anyone who is skilled in any activity, that's what they do. So how do you find how you can persevere? How you can persist without effort? How do you find an internal motivation to keep looking, to keep searching? How do you find that curiosity, the interest? And leave it, have a rest on your back. There's something about this ability to mobilise every single part of ourselves in space. Every single part of ourselves. And to really begin to notice more and more clearly when we interfere with that. And it's all a series of approximations. That's the great stuff about this work. But, you know, I still lie down on the floor, as I said, nearly every day, and that's still what I'm exploring. And I can make finer and finer distinctions. And I personally, this is my personal opinion, I think that's what's the hallmark of a great, really what makes you a good practitioner. You knowing it on yourself. And thus the importance of ATM. So now as you're lying on your back, could you really gently make yourselves a little bit smaller? So you're going to bring your pelvis and your head a little bit closer together. And then you make yourself a little bit taller and you think of your pelvis and head moving away from each other a little bit. Can you begin maybe to sense, it's really beautiful looking, that getting smaller is not about compressing. It's a change in shape, it's a change in distance between your head and your pelvis, that something has to happen through all of you to let that happen. So it's not you don't feel that your muscles have to just as you feel that getting taller, that your pelvis and head can begin to move away from each other a little bit, isn't about stretching. Okay, could you simply just roll to your right to come up to sitting? Let's see, how did that feel? Any easier? Yeah? And that's the thing, you know, we refine the quality. Even if it's only in one small part of the range, that generalises. Generalises through our system. Finding quality generalises so that we go and do a bigger movement and all of a sudden it becomes easier. Okay, so sitting cross-legged. Right hand behind, left hand on your forehead, so I don't get them confused. And again, find that very small movement, rolling your head between your hands. And as you do that, could you get a little bit smaller and a little bit taller? A little bit smaller and a little bit taller. As you keep rolling your head. A little bit smaller, your pelvis and your head, so you round a little bit. And then you get a little bit taller. Your head grows a little bit away as your pelvis goes down. And now, slowly begin to find a way to change your legs again. And feel, is there any of this little bit of small and tall in there? As well as the little bit of shift left and right, so that you allow yourself to find all of these trajectories through space that you can move in. So as you're getting a little bit smaller and taller front to back, maybe you can feel that side to side something's happening too, that you're getting a little bit maybe smaller on one side as you get a little bit taller or longer on the other side. So finding this place where these curves can keep changing. Your shape keeps changing. Because usually we get stuck when we get to end range of one movement. You know, we've sort of curled as much as we can, and then there's nowhere left to go and we're still trying to curl more. No? And maybe at that point we need to get a little bit taller and see, does something else open up? Does something else open up? And again, you're finding, because we've still got your left hand in front and your right behind, that there's a little bit of difference about which leg is easier to mobilise first as you change your legs. Can you begin to sense some of that there is this, will have an influence? And it's nice, I don't think anyone's lifting their feet now. So the more we can have more support, more movable support, the more options open up for us. Okay, on your back. Roll your head, just roll your head a little left and right. How does it feel? How much of you feels connected to that? What trajectory does your head go in? Some of you, after doing the rolling that, you might find that rather than rolling your head, you know, that you start in the middle and as you go to the right, your weight rolls to the right side of the back of your head, and then as you roll to the left, the weight rolls to the left side. Some of you might even feel that the back of your head's starting to slide on the floor a little bit. Not good or bad, just another way. That as you turn your head to the right, the back of your head turns and slides a little bit to the left. Turn your head to the left, the back of your head might slide a little bit to the right. Again, they're simply different ways. They ask for different ways of organising yourself in space, of moving. And then without thinking, roll to one side, come up to standing. How much do you sense of yourself at the moment? How easy? Is it getting easier over these days to just sort of get a picture of all of me? That I've sort of got all of me, and then I could bring maybe my pelvis a little bit more foreground, or my right shoulder, or my nose, or the back of my head, but it's within the picture of all of me. Go for a walk. And we'll have our break, and then we're going to come back and listen to a talk. It's much better. Much better.